What's going on, everyone? It's Rob and Jonny. Welcome to episode 36 of the MMArcade Podcast. Rob, brother, what's going on, man?
Not much, mate. I am training. There is some big news in the works right now with myself. So just put it this way, I'm training pretty hard right now.
All right. Will we hear about it on an upcoming podcast? That's going to be exciting.
Certainly.
It's kind of crazy how we got to this point. We just finished recording episode 36 from start to finish. And literally, as we stopped recording, there was a big announcement relating to Rob that was announced by Dana White. So, Rob, I'll let you take the floor. Talk to us about your announcement.
Literally, so I teased that I was training hard for something in the intro of last episode, of the same episode, but of the other recording. And within that episode, Dana White announced my fight against Khamzat Chimaev on June 22nd in Saudi Arabia. It's going to be a contender fight, and it's 5-round main event. So, yeah.
Dude, I'm so stoked for you. A contender fight is huge, mate. Absolutely.
100%. And I do understand that the task at hand is going to be hard, and I'm going to be grinding my ass off this camp. And I'm looking forward to it because it's a good thing. After last fight, I didn't have any injuries. The body's good. They offered me the fight. I fought 4 or 5 weeks ago at this point. Mate, I'm ready. Just give me another one. I'm in a great headspace to take another hard fight. And I'm looking forward to it. Like every hard fight pushes my skills to that next level. And this gets me in line to get the belt back. And that's the goal, isn't it?
Well, ultimately, that's what you've said in previous videos. Like, you want to take fights that are going to inch you closer towards that eventual title fight. And this puts you right in there. It has been labeled as a title contender fight. So what was your kind of thought process taking a fight on I'm not going to call it such short notice. We've seen many more, short notice fights. But what was your thought process going around that?
Yeah, it's... Well, obviously, it's like a bit of a shock because it comes out of nowhere. I would have assumed UFC were going to hold me in the ranks until for the Australia card in August, which is kind of what I was preparing for.
Right.
But I'm happy. UFC have given me this boon, and mate, this is my path to the title. This is the way I earn money for my kids, and to be able to do that so close, like I said in a lot of other episodes as well, I want to increase my activity. God willing, and my body's healthy, there's no reason why I shouldn't take this fight. Like, what else am I going to be doing? Playing Dragon's Dogma, right?
I mean, that's what you would be doing.
Yeah. So, no, I'm looking forward to this fight. Also, the fact that the fight's in Saudi Arabia, it's the first time UFC's been there. So I am pumped to be part of that history. I've done that a few times now. And it just, it all gets notched into my legacy. And, I have direction now. I have energy. Momentum. I feel less guilty when I'm playing games for so long. It's like I'm in camp now. This is what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah. Well, speaking about this taking place in Saudi Arabia, so Dana at the same time as announcing your fight, announced a bunch of other fights as well. So we do have Sergey Pavlovich against Alexander Volkov, Kevin Gastelum as well against Daniel Rodriguez. Volkan is versing Johnny Walker, and Sharat Magomedov is versing Ihor Potieria. I think I pronounced that right. So a pretty decent card so far, and obviously we're going to have more fights announced as well, right?
Yep, I cannot wait. It's mad how it's all come together. Yeah, and mate, I'm looking forward to it. Got to not go too hard too quick because it is still about 4 months away. So just got to ease into it and. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the fight. I understand he's a hard fighter. He likes to grapple a lot. He uses his reach and range to good effectiveness. He's got knockout power. But honestly, he likes to play the villain against these guys, against his opponents. But I'm looking for an honor. He's an honorable fighter. Like, we're going to get in there and we're going to have an honest fight. We're both going to leave it there. He's not a quitter. I'm not a quitter. Yeah. So I look forward to really, making history in Saudi Arabia.
Dude, we're so excited to be watching you fight, especially so soon. I don't remember what the gap was between, your previous fight and the one before that. But to see you fight so quickly, 2 now in a year, who knows what happens if you win? Mate. What else might happen after that, right?
Mate, bills got to be paid.
Yeah, 100%. Do you have any kind of...
Got to pay for all those microtransactions. People will get it if they've lasted the whole episode, or if they watch the rest of the episode and have me a rant on how much I love microtransactions. So.
I think I'm definitely going to upload this one separately so we can get it out there now that the news is hot. But we'll attach this one with the previous one as well somehow. But do you have any kind of final thoughts on your fight or this card or the process and the build-up, anything like that before we close out?
No, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, there will be weekly updates with the episodes. And stay tuned, guys. It's gonna be a banger.
This week, bro, we've got a fair bit to talk about. There was a fight card on the weekend and some pretty, I don't know if you call it big news, shocking news. I don't know how to describe it. It was pretty crazy with the biting incident, but we're going to talk about that and a few other pieces of news. There's also a fight night coming this weekend that we'll chat about quickly, plus some games news and everything. So if you are new to the podcast, if you want to subscribe for more content, we'd really appreciate it. Consider becoming a member on the channel as well. But Rob, we've got to talk about it, right? So that was a fight night on the weekend. It was Nama Nunes returning, fighting at 135, I believe. I can't remember which weight class it was. But the biggest news by far from that fight card was the biting incident, Bitegate, bite of the night. I've seen a few ways of describing it. So we saw Igor Severino biting Andre Lima. Did you see it? And what did you think of it?
Mate, so let me preface my responses about the fight card and why we're not delving super deep into it. Okay, so last Sunday was Palm Sunday. This Sunday's Easter. I don't want to run back fights if I don't watch them live. I just don't. Okay, especially not the super hyped main events. You know, you guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not the super MMA fan where I watch from the beginning of the card to the end every week. Yeah. Okay. I like diving into those like really high level fighters, and I like appreciating what they do, which is where I get to speak about it to you guys and with you guys. But that's just a quick spiel before I dive into it. But we are going to talk about the bite because everybody else is, and I got to say, man, like. I saw the wound he had there, and the dude ended up getting that tattooed as well.
So funny.
He got the bite tattooed, but it looked like the guy wasn't even wearing a mouth guard because that bite was like a perfect circle, dude. Like you could see every teeth groove.
Dude, it was insane. And so I was watching it live in the moment, and the commentators after the fight was called off, they were implying, they should have given him a warning, da-da-da-da-da. And then he revealed the bite mark, and they were all like, straight away, this got to be called off. We didn't realize it was that bad. I don't know how you cause such grooves. And he actually broke the skin. It was bleeding a little bit with a mouth guard. What the hell?
Yeah.
Why would you do that? Why would you do such a thing in a fight? It's crazy.
I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, I don't know. I'm looking for any excuse I can give him, which is like he didn't understand the rules, or at his gym they train everyone bites. So
I think it's encouraged.
I don't know what I can give him. Like the dude fought like it was live or die in that moment. And the thing was, like he had the position, he had the back, didn't he? Like he was pushing into the back.
He was definitely losing the fight until that point. I wouldn't say it was a dominant position. What it really impressed me with Lima was that when he was getting bitten, he said, "Yeah, look, the guy's biting me." But with how deep that groove was, he wasn't actually reacting in that much pain. Maybe it was just like he was pumped in the fight. Like I don't know, he just didn't really react in the moment.
Haven't you ever noticed that like you can't tickle someone in a fight?
I haven't noticed that.
Well, it's real, dude. Like. When you're in a fight, your pain sensors like just change and everything. You're not ticklish. You can't get tickled when there's a threat level of like punching each other in the face. So I assume it's something like that as well.
Rob, has anyone tried to tickle you in a fight?
No, they haven't. I'm hoping they do. So
I don't understand, man. This guy was he undefeated until that stage? Like, two up-and-comers just signed to the UFC. He does something stupid like that. Dana literally cuts him on that day. I think his fight purse has been held, and I don't know if it's going to be given to him. What's going through someone's head to do something crazy like that?
Well, that's it. And Like, I don't begrudge Dana from stripping him straight away because the
course not.
UFC's the greatest, it's the most premier MMA organization in the world, like one of the biggest sporting companies of the world. And everybody in the UFC is at a level and a caliber that no ordinary athlete can reach.
Yeah.
So you're kind of put on a pedestal, or you put on a stage to perform and given the opportunity to make something of yourself. So it's just, it's a waste, dude. It's a waste.
Well, and who's going to want to sign him now? Like Bellator or PFL? Like they're the same thing now, but like who's going to want to sign a guy in his first fight in a major organization like the UFC that bites their opponent? And it wasn't like when it first happened, like sometimes I can understand if, you're being choked and there's an arm right in your face and it's unintentional in that sense. Like you accidentally bite down for a little bit. This was vicious. It was malicious in every single way. So who's going to want to sign this guy now? Like, is this pretty much the end of his pro fighting career?
It's too hard to say. People change. Maybe it was a mistake. Like, it's hard to say. Like, I feel sorry for the guy if he has blown his chances in MMA, like indefinitely. But I'm hoping he goes back and things die down, and
for sure
he makes a return, and he learns from this.
Yeah. Well, let's see what happens. But next up, we've got, so there's a bit of I wouldn't call it a back and forth, but everyone's wondering who Michael Venom Page is going to be fighting after his debut and his win in the UFC. It seems like one of the opponents suggested is Ian Garry, Machado, and he's pretty much come out and said, no, I'm not interested in fighting MVP. And I know there is a lot of, let's just call it criticism of Ian Garry online at the moment, regardless of what you think of him as a fighter. I know there's a lot of conversation happening about him for X, Y, and Z, but this is what he had to say. He said, quote, no, his number is not higher than mine, referring to MVP's current ranking. I want to be the best in the world, and unless your number is higher than mine, I'm not interested. So what do you think about Ian Garry's response when that fight with MVP was proposed?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. Like, I 100% understand where Ian Garry's coming from. And I'm pretty sure I've said things similar in the past. Like, I want to go up. And the main way of doing that is fighting guys higher than you. But then you reach a point where you are at the top and you run out of guys ahead of you. And that's when you start fighting everyone in between. But I understand where he's coming from. I can see that mindset. Yeah, what do you do? What do you do? And
would you say though,
it's more,
is this a special case though? Because this isn't just any fighter. This is MVP. He's come with a lot of reputation. Like, his hype was very, very high. He had a great debut. He's now ranked as a fighter, and even though he's lower, you'd think that this guy, especially with how entertaining he is and how much of a spotlight the UFC is currently putting on him, is almost going to be fast-tracked to a title, right? Could you imagine if Ian Garry happened to beat MVP? That would put Ian Garry, in my opinion, very close to the conversation, if not right in there, to get a title opportunity.
Definitely, and that's one of the things with the UFC. It's like taking on those hype fights, fast track you. They just do. I can see Ian Garry, if he beats Michael Page, getting maybe a top 3 guy, and then fighting for the belt after that. Like, that's how that would work. But I can also see him, forcing a top 5 fight next fight as well, just because of like his persona. But it's hard to say. The UFC works in mysterious ways.
If I was to ask you if they were to fight, hypothetically, early prediction, who would you favor in that fight between MVP and Ian Garry?
That's tricky. That's tricky. I think, like, I can see Ian Garry beating him. I think, but I think because
he's a good fighter. I know a lot of people don't like the guy.
Ian Garry's really good, and he's got really good, solid technical striking. And I can see him giving Michael Page problems where Holland couldn't. So, like, I can see Ian Garry utilizing his kicks a lot better. I can see him closing that space and controlling that space a little better as well. Right. Not to mention, we didn't see much of Michael Page's ground game, but Ian Garry's got a pretty real jiu-jitsu game. Yeah. So, I can see him integrating that into the fight where it's happened. But in saying that, Michael Page, mate, he's a box of tricks, isn't he? He does a lot of crazy things. And I think a lot of guys that would have been in Kevin Holland's shoes last fight wouldn't have made it through that first round.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it's a wild card, that one.
He's a real life anime fighter, honestly. So entertaining to watch. But talking about entertaining, I do want to say, just imagine the build up between these two. It's not like they have bad blood or anything like that, but I think the hype would be pretty cool. Like they'd be able to trade some back and forth, you know, get on interviews, talk about each other. And it doesn't feel like, have you seen some of the stuff between Ian Garry and what's his name, Colby? It just feels too much. But between Ian Garry and MVP, I think it'd be a bit more organic, but still entertaining at the same time. I don't know. That's my fault.
Yeah, well, that's a fight that they want to make. You know, I think Colby's calling for Ian Garry. So
I wouldn't mind that.
That gets him, and that gets him like probably closer to a title shot, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't know what you do with Colby at the moment. Let's see. If I was to plan it, I would probably put Ian Garry against Colby because they are themselves organically trying to build it up. It feels a little forced to me, especially with some of the videos that Colby made, but let's see what happens. You know, I think it's going to be a good fight either way, whether it is an MVP or a Colby or whoever else. But Rob, here's an interesting discussion that I wanted to put to you today. So Brendan Moreno has announced a break from MMA. So this is what he had to say recently. Quote, "I just think I've reached a limit in my mind and I'm tired. It's not goodbye or anything like that. It's just a wait for me, be patient with me, let my body, but more than anything, my mind, my head compose itself and recover, and we're going to get back to doing things right." And then he's talking about obviously wanting to be champion again. But very, very similar discussions that has been happening with Dustin Poirier recently. He talked about that with Ariel Helwani. And now Brandon Moreno saying he needs a little bit of a break. What do you think about what Brandon has said about needing to take a break from the UFC and MMA?
Mate, I think that's the best thing he could have done, honestly. He's been taking really high-level fights, and this is something that I think we've spoken on another episode where once you're at the top and once you get that belt, there's no easy fights anymore. Like there's only, even if you lose that belt, you're fighting the next contenders. You're now the gatekeeper to the title shot. Like everyone wants to beat you now to get their chance at having a go. So every fight you have is against a champion or the next champion or a potential champion, right? Like you're only fighting championship fights at that point. So it is, and that takes a lot, not only physically does that take a lot out of you, but mentally for the camp, for those 5-round fights, it takes a lot out of you preparing for those fights. And then once you get in those fights, it's a lot out of you mentally to stay on for that amount of time, it is a high pressure game. And I looked up just then how old he is. He's only 30 years old, mate.
He's only 30. Far out.
Yeah, he's got the time. He's got the time to take, like, to take a step to the side, to just let his mind fatigue. Just, you know, wear itself out and then come back fresh and hungry. You know, it's easy to see how, like, after how many championship camps he had. Remember that run he had with Figueiredo?
Those fights, bro. Far out.
Mate, his fight time in the last 3 years would have to be huge. Like, I imagine it would be in the hours.
So I'm pulling it up right now. So this is since December of 2019. He's fought against Kai Kara France twice. He fought against Davison Figueiredo 3 times. He's fought against Brandon Royval twice. He's fought against Alexandre Pantoja, who obviously is the champ now. This guy has fought probably the hardest people you could ever fight in that division, let alone the UFC in a relative sense. If there's any fighter that it's understandable for them to want to take a break, it is absolutely Moreno, for sure.
I definitely think he's making the best decision he could be regarding his career and MMA, like his future in MMA.
100%. So the last bit of UFC news that I wanted to talk about today was, so Matt Brown has come out and talked about Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor. And these two, obviously, I don't know how long this thing has been talked about or planned for. It's been years, it seems like now. And Matt Brown has pretty much come out and said, at this stage, Michael, even if you beat Conor McGregor, it's not going to be, to him, in his opinion, that impressive. So this is what he said. If Conor came back and fought him, Chandler won, how much of a star would that make him? Chandler's already a pretty good star, but I guess the name power would be pretty good. Pretty solid, but would anybody even really care? What do you think about what Matt Brown had to say about that?
Yeah, I think with the delay and everything of the fight itself and how far it's been pushed back and how, I guess with how McGregor's taken fighting, like he's coming off a loss and then those 2 fights of Poirier and he took a long layout. It's just like he's kind of lost his attraction power in a sense. His attraction power in the fight game per se. Like he's still got huge draw, like monumental draw with a lot of different people. Everyone's going to tune in for the fight whenever he turns up. But I think just like from a pure fighting standpoint, he's lost a lot of his attraction there.
Yeah.
Like Chandler, McGregor, I don't really care. Like, I'm not really worried about it because I think the division's moved on. I think there's harder people to fight between both of them. I think there are a lot of guys in that division now that like really high level. Like how long has it been going for? There's 2 years, the layoff, like roughly?
Something like that, man. Yeah, I think Chandler has been over a year, but it feels way longer than that, right?
Yeah, and I feel like the guys have gotten better. Yeah. They've gotten better. Like the divisions like moved on, and every year the divisions get better. Like MMA evolves, and I feel like McGregor's kind of stuck in the previous generation of MMA.
Yeah.
But in saying that, though, McGregor is a stellar fighter, like he is. Yeah. And that was why he did what he did. But so is Chandler. Like, I love watching Chandler fight, right? But
me too, man.
Mate, again, I agree to a degree.
Yeah, at this stage, because it's been drawn out for so long, it almost feels, and I'm not calling it like this, but it almost feels like it'd be an exhibition match at this stage because, as you said, there are so many other fighters ahead of them in the pecking order in that division that competitively, in terms of any kind of consequence for the title and title contention, this fight to me doesn't really have any impact at all. They're just fighting because Conor wants to fight and he's a big name and they've been talking about this for a while. They had the Ultimate Fighter thing. It just makes sense. Yep. But in terms of the rankings, in terms of the next title contender,
no one's getting a title shot after this.
No one is.
Yeah.
And they're not even any closer, I would argue, to fighting for the title. There's too many killers in that division.
I can see that.
Yeah. But that is it in terms of big UFC news. Let us know what you think about those topics in the comments below. But Rob, there is a UFC Fight Night this weekend. You want to talk about it. So Blanchfield is going to be fighting against Ferrot. Luque is actually fighting against Joaquin Buckley. That's going to be a pretty cool fight. But you want to talk about your teammate, Jacob Malkoun. Let's hear it.
Yep. He's so Jacob Malkoun is one of my main partners at the gym. Like day in, day out, twice a day, we're wrestling, grappling, working together. And honestly, no one in the history of my career has given me more trouble than him. Like, I think he's a phenomenal fighter. I think his talents, like he's really starting to find his groove now. And mate, I've never seen anyone like rorted out of wins more times than him, the poor guy. Like he was robbed against I forget his name. What's his name? Brendan Allen. He was robbed against Allen, and then he was like, he wasn't even given a warning. It was I think DQ'd against his last opponent, which was he was mauling. So very unhappy about that. He's a dude that is really coming into his groove. I can see him being top 10, top 5 in the future, and he's fighting this weekend. And I expect good things from him. I can see him getting in there and just mauling this guy. Because honestly, and I've fought a lot of guys, I've trained with a lot of people. He's the guy that has given me the most trouble in fights. Like in any fight, like except Romero too. That guy, that fight was silly. But apart from that, Jacob would have to be the next hardest.
Hell yeah. So is he fighting on the prelims or is he on the main card? I can't actually see that.
I think he's on the prelims.
Yeah, it'll be good to see him fight because, as you said, with what happened last time, to see him bounce back, fight someone like Petroski, who did he lose against? Pereira, I think, before, someone like that, with TKO. So I think for both of them, actually, it's going to be a good fight.
And I'm for it.
Yeah. So let's see what happens there. We'll talk about, well, actually, next week, it's UFC 300 next weekend, isn't it? Or am I thinking ahead?
You're thinking ahead. It's
I swear
2 weeks
to God.
from now.
2 weeks from now.
Oh, yeah. So it's not next weekend. It's the weekend after that.
I don't know why I thought it was going to be next weekend. I was like
April 14.
Yeah, I thought it was April 7th, but we are going to be doing I have no idea, by the way. I'm scared how long that episode is going to be. You know, you and I, we usually try and do predictions for like as many of the main card fights as possible. Every single fight on that card is a banger. And we're probably going to dedicate the entire episode to just UFC 300 predictions. I don't know how we do it.
I'm looking forward to it.
let us know.
Even the short episodes, even the episodes that I say, oh, this will be a short one because I didn't watch last fight card, or there aren't that many fights this weekend, they end up being an hour anyway. So I worry. I worry, mate.
Yeah. Let us know how you want to approach it in the comments below. Like, should we split it up? Next week we talk about the prelim fights. The week after we talk about the main card. I don't know what the best approach is, but let us know what you think. Next up, Rob, we've got some video game news. Now, by far the biggest piece of news this week was about Dragon's Dogma 2 and all the microtransactions, right? So Rob and I played the game before launch. We reviewed it. But at that stage, we didn't know about any of the microtransactions. It is Capcom, mind you, and they've done this before. They've done it with Resident Evil and Devil May Cry, so there was no reason to expect that they wouldn't do it with Dragon's Dogma 2. But Rob, you would have seen the microtransactions. You would have seen the debate about it. What do you think about the drama?
Okay, let me get comfy. I'm about to go off.
Go on.
I don't know when the gaming community became such wimps, and complainers, and bitches, dude. Like, when did you guys start become so weak? Like, it's ridiculous. And you know what is the worst thing about it is because like everyone jumped on a wounded dog. There was so much misinformation spread about the game that everyone just jumped on it and everyone was throwing negative reviews and they hadn't even played it. A lot of these guys reviewing hadn't played it. It's like no game time.
Yeah.
You know, it was the microtransactions for one. They're a one-time purchase. Okay. And so you can't buy multiples of them. Otherwise, it would have. Okay.
Yeah.
And secondly, like most of everything in that kit, everything that's sold is what you get in the deluxe version, which is something that's very normal across the thing. And also, lastly, like everything that was in the microtransaction shop could be purchased in game, like just by finding it, Rift crystals, trading in items, finding different vendors, like it's all there. Like they just, let alone it's Capcom, dude. Have you not seen the amount of crazy crap they've put out before? Like
Street Fighter is another game as well.
It shouldn't take anybody surprise. Like and I'm expecting more, but like the amount of misinformation and just everybody having a whinge because they could, like they felt so entitled. Do you not remember the time? It's I think it's a generational thing because like, do you not remember the time when you had to you were trying to play Sega and you would like have to blow on the cartridge and then put it in just perfectly. Like you had a trick, like it had to be just perfect. And then you pop it on and you just pray to God it worked. Like you didn't go to GameStop and start complaining.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just blew on that cartridge harder, right? I feel like, I don't know, the culture of gaming needs to have a good hard look at itself, like, because the game is amazing. Even if you don't buy anything, like it is an amazing game. And I am privileged to be able to play it, to be honest.
I agree that it's a really great game, and it's a shame. I've talked about this in a couple of videos on my own channel. It's a shame that after the launch of the game, we were talking about such negativity and drama. Even if you consider it to be self-imposed, regardless, it still felt crappy to me because I do think it's a really good game. I think it's a genuine Game of the Year contender. I will say there are some legit arguments when people frame the criticism correctly and they actually understand how the microtransactions work. There are some legit arguments. For instance, the Explorer's Camping Kit. That's one that's not available in the game, but there is an even better camping kit available in the game. I think it's just a little bit later that you get it. So long as you frame the microtransactions correctly and you still have an issue with it, personally, that's your opinion. That's fine. For me, I never got that urge to buy more Rift Crystals, to buy more Port Crystals or Wake Stones or anything like that, because as you play the game normally, you get pretty much enough of them to do what you want. The one thing that I'm very glad that they didn't do is, and they probably could have easily done this, Rob, and maybe they even talked about it, if they sold the fairy stones because they're 10,000 gold in the game and you need those to fast travel, I would have a genuine issue with that. But they didn't do that. Everything else you get in pretty nice quantities, aside from the Explorer's Camping Kit and the Heartfelt Pendant. So that's what I'll say about it.
Yeah, and like I read a lot of the reviews, right? I read a lot of reviews, and I sent you a couple, and I find them so funny.
Yeah,
like I'm gonna bring it up. that one comment. So if you want to laugh, go on the DLCs, the microtransaction DLCs of Dragon's Dogma, and look at the comments, because they're all negative as. And I'm trying to find that one I sent you. I love it because here it goes. Best DLC ever. Separates us into different castes based on who's able to afford a decent bed. Terrific. Anything that makes the paws cry gets a purchase from me.
Jesus Christ. That's so brutal, bro.
Dude, I loved it. I thought it was so funny, man. So funny because, like, mate, a lot of the microtransactions, they're $2. They're $2. I understand there are some people that own financial hardships, but mate, if you're seriously on the fence about buying a $2 DLC, maybe you shouldn't have bought a $120 game as well. You know, like it's the same sort of vein. But that's not what I'm talking about. I personally like microtransactions to a degree. Like I like purchasing cool skins. I like getting the limited editions of wings for some stupid character I'll never probably wear. Like, I don't know. And I like having the option of being able to give my money more to the developers. And I understand I'm going to get smashed in the comments because the first thing that comes to mind is like, if you buy this, you're part of the problem. And I get it, dude.
That is the argument.
I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
That is the argument. But I don't know. What do you want from me? I want the Explorer's tent, okay? Yeah. You guys can jump in your elite tent that you can get. I'm in the Explorer's tent because I like Explorer's tent. I want that one. I like DLCs. I like being able to buy skins. I like them. Oh, it feels like, I don't know what it is. I get a dopamine hit when I can purchase some like extra skins and stuff like that.
Right.
You know, but I guess like you can't even though. It's not even pay to win. It's like a one-off microtransaction. And so I wish it were like you could just keep buying. I'd buy a 10 Port Crystals straight away, or like Rift Crystals. Like I'd have 100K worth of that stuff already, so I can just like start a new character and have like a level 50 just guiding me through the game, right? Yeah, you can cheese it like that.
Well, it's interesting that you actually bring that up because so Rob is saying on Steam you can only buy a certain amount of the Rift Crystals and that's it because they come in like packages A, B, C, and D and whatever it is. So once you've purchased that, you can no longer purchase that anymore. So you can't buy an infinite amount of Rift Crystals. The pawn system in the game, if you're level 1, for instance, it costs you so much money to buy a pawn that is really high level that's going to help you just walk through the game. So there's actually no... They could have easily developed this system where they would just demand you to buy Rift Crystals if you want an easy mode and just to be walked through the game. But it's actually designed where it's a disincentive. Like there is no way to buy that many Rift Crystals to even get those high level pawns anyways. They prevent you from doing so. So they could have actually made it a lot worse, but they've reached some sort of balance, I guess.
You know what? And like... I'm going to cover myself because I'm going to get smashed in the comments at this point.
Look, you are. There's no other way around it.
It's already coming because I'm, like I've mentioned before, I'm part of the problem. I'm part of the problem. Okay, how you play your game is on you. How I play my game is on me. I'm not joining any clubs or any sides. I'm not about to sign a petition saying, yay, microtransactions. I'm not about joining a petition saying we should get rid of them. Okay, just leave me alone. I'm going to play my games the way I want to. Okay. All I'm going to say, I'm going to finish on this with the microtransactions is it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Like the amount of arms that went up about it made it look so much worse than it actually is. It's not pay to win. It's a one-off purchase. It's not that bad. It's like no different than the deluxe version. Right. It's not that bad. Like there are other things you could really raise arms about, like in this life. I think this is not one of them.
So what I'll say to kind of close this segment out is that I think a level of healthy discussion about these kinds of practices is ultimately a good thing, because it always makes publishers and developers think twice a little bit and check themselves, right? Before they do something that's overly egregious, is too much. You have this really expensive single player game, and then you just have this microtransaction that is like unfair, whatever word that you want to use. So I think a level of this conversation is good and it's healthy to have, but you need to frame it correctly. You need to actually describe these microtransactions in a correct manner. And I agree with you. There's been a lot of misrepresentation in terms of how they actually work, but there has been some people, to their credit, having genuine discussions about these microtransactions. And I think that is healthy. I think it's healthy for the industry.
Definitely. I think definitely everyone should speak about it. Please don't smash me in the comments.
It's going to happen, bro. I'm just telling you right now.
No, don't smash me in the comments, dude. Like, be nice. And I guess on the Steam reviews, like that it's actually as you said, like they could have, a lot of the dudes that are just like slamming the game, like you can have the discussions without being a dick about it, right? Like,
I agree. I 100% agree. Like you can have level-headed criticisms about a game, and a developer doesn't have to be insulted in the process. You know what I mean? I for sure agree with that. But next topic that we have, Rob, is something that you've talked about many times, and it seems like this future is coming to fruition. So there is going to be a digital-only Xbox Series X that has been leaked. It doesn't even seem like there is an additional attachment that you can attach a disk drive with. So if you want to still use disks and purchase physical copies, you can. But that seems like it's coming out. It really does seem like, as we get closer to the next console generation with the PS6 and what do they call the Xbox, they might actually just release these things without any physical disk drives whatsoever. And we've just seen news about, GameSpot, for instance, or GameStop in the US. They've done a bunch of redundancies. It seems like those stores are a little bit struggling. So what do you think, Rob? What do you think about this all digital Xbox Series X and the struggles that physical retail is having in the US?
Yeah, it's inevitable, and that can only say, like, to the collectors out there, I understand that this is a big thing for you guys, but it'll only make your collections worth more, really.
Harder to purchase in the first place, but once you do have it, they will be worth.
Yeah. If you think about fabrication costs of like the actual disk drives, retailing, like the making of the discs and everything, they're going to save so much money in pulling them back. But the one concern that I have is that they do not, like, I don't understand why digital copies of games aren't cheaper than the physical copies of games.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
And it's something like that no one really talks about, but why are they the same price? I do not understand.
I think the reason is, and this is not a defense, it's just to kind of describe it. So once digital copies started really becoming a thing, effectively on a PSN store or an Xbox store, they were setting the price of these games equivalent to what you would see in a lot of retail stores, right? In Australia, biggest one here is EB Games, and usually new games are full price. But then you started getting other retailers like a JB Hi-Fi and a Big W, whoever they are, to compete with EB Games. They would undercut the price of new games so much where they're barely making any margin on it. But they would do it so much that when you compare it then to the price of games at EB or in the digital version, that's why there's such a discrepancy. But I agree, because they are saving so much on distribution, the retailers aren't getting a cut, all that kind of stuff. There should be some recognition of it, but there hasn't been. Games are they seem like they are very expensive digitally.
They're getting more expensive.
And they're getting more expensive, especially with like, your collector's editions and all that kind of stuff. So it's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the games news. Next up, we've got what we're playing, watching, and reading. I think I know what Rob's answer is going to be. You probably know what mine is. But Rob, what have you been playing in this last week?
Mate, only Dragon's Dogma.
Yeah.
Like, only. Exclusively.
So what's been going on your playthrough? I'm genuinely curious.
So I've put probably about 50 hours into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I deleted my dude yesterday.
Did you actually? You did it?
Yeah.
You pulled the trigger?
Yeah, I did it. I couldn't. I understand they're going to bring out a new game feature, but I just couldn't wait. And if they are eventually going to bring it out, like, why waste days?
Fair.
Why waste days? Like, I was worried because apparently there's like it's not super clean, like the deletion and then starting again, and yada, 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 because of the pawns and whatnot. But I did it, and I'm loving my new playthrough. Like, I'm just going to really take my time with this. I'm probably not going to go anywhere near main quest missions. I'm going to try and explore the whole map, which is possible at like level 1. I'm going to try and unlock Magic Archer from the get-go, like just beeline.
Is that your favorite?
Volcanic region. Nah, I'm going to this. So last playthrough, I played just warrior, pure warrior, like Ooga Booga. And it's so strong, dude. It is so strong. I cannot, like, pure warrior, like, is just so stupidly strong. You stagger big monsters like you would not.
Hell yeah.
Like you can't imagine, right? And then when they're on the ground, you can just like hit those vital points for big damage with that like 3 charge overhead swing. I forget what it's called, but it's just so strong. Plus, like, you don't get moved. Like, dragons will land on me and I'm still charging up my heavy swings. Like, I can't get staggered. My defense is huge, especially if you've got a mage in the party. The healing just covers it. It's just so strong. And then I switched to Thief to get some of the augments to make myself stronger. And Thief is even more stupid. Like,
really? Is it good?
Thief has a win button straight away. Their master skill is this move where it automatically dashes for you if you get hit, like teleports you to somewhere safe. It looks like a shadowy blur and he moves you forward. So that like, you pop that on and it slowly drains your stamina. Slowly, like you don't even notice.
Yeah,
you pop that on, you cannot die anymore. He automatically dodges magic, automatically dodges ground attacks, crazy. AoEs, range attacks. It's dumb. So what I do is you pop that on, my mage buffs me, and then I just press square because auto attacking doesn't take any stamina. So I'm invincible, just standing there doing that standstill slice attack.
Crazy, man.
It's so strong. Then it's got like the helm split, or the one where it dives up and does like a sonic spin.
Yeah.
It just puts monsters away. And you know what? It's got a steal technique where you can steal stuff from things. And that like adds up. You end up getting like more fairy stones, weight stones. Like on big enemies, you get like the rare pieces. So like if you start hunting golems, you start getting magic medallions. Yeah. And you get an extra one of those by robbing those dudes. It's just a really strong class.
Interesting.
Like, this time I'm going only magic. Mage, sorcerer, magic archer. That's
what. So what about Mystic Spearhand? So I completely leveled up fighter because I just wanted to get all the augments, and now I'm trying out Mystic Spearhand. Apparently, that is one of, if not the most OP vocations in the game, just because of how good the duo spears are. Are you going to give that a go as well in this playthrough?
Nah, probably not.
Really? Why not?
I don't like spears. Like, I don't like spears.
What's the difference between a two-handed sword and a spear? It's all melee.
Yeah, but it's not. There's a difference.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
I want to just go old man staff wielding. You know what I was let down with? The Warfarer. Like,
oh yeah.
That was a huge letdown. It's just not strong. The only combination you can make is like sorcerer into archer, which is just, I don't know. I might do that later because I don't know. I'm running only magic this time because you can still min-max your stats. Yeah. I don't know if you know that. So there's like, whatever you level up as, there's a certain amount of stats that go towards whatever vocation you're playing as. So if you play as a mage, when you level up, you'll get more magic than if you're a warrior, where you'll get more melee stuff, right? And they made it cool so that when you change vocation, it dynamically changes your stats over, but it's not 100%. So for instance, my character was level 40-something, right? And my pawn was a mage 40-something, and I was a warrior 40-something. And the difference when I dynamically changed to a mage was about 100 points. That's a fair chunk. I don't know. And just knowing that I could have min-maxed my character and I didn't, made it, I didn't want to play.
I don't know how I feel about that, because you told me about how when you changed, it was dynamic and you got all the same stats as if you leveled up with that vocation. But that's not the case, because I'm a min-maxer too. So I think I would just try and, beeline for the Mystic Spearhand or whatever vocation that I want,
Yeah, no, it does. So like I think once you put weapons on everything, like the difference is tiny. It's like within 15%. But
well, hold on, 10-15% is still decent. Like,
Yeah, it is. But I guess like, yeah, but also because I think the max level is 999. So
Okay.
I read somewhere that all levels hit a cap and they plateau at level 200. So at level 200, you've hit the max in just about everything. It doesn't matter what you do. I just thought to myself, though, that like, I don't want to play the game as a warrior for 200 levels to play a wizard.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I've been doing. And now I've just started a new playthrough.
Nice.
As well as, hold on, massive rant. That quest. There was a quest where the kid was taken by the dogs and I failed it because I couldn't find him in time. And I tried so hard. And that has haunted me ever since.
So here's the funny thing. I just did a quest, right, where I can't remember the dude's name. He went off to fight this crazy boss dude. He was sent there. And if you didn't go there in time, like when you were first told about it, he will definitely die. And I was like, crap, I want the quest rewards and everything. What do I do? Because when I got there, I was told that he was already dead. So instead of just going and telling his wife that your husband is dead, I went to the morgue area, revived him with a wake stone. He goes straight back to his wife. And then I talked to them as if I had saved him in the moment. And I got the quest rewards. It was awesome. It was great. So there wasn't really a consequence.
Could I saved that kid?
Maybe. Well, here's the thing. Do you need to talk to anyone before the quest ends? Or does it just end? That's the difference here.
I need to take the remains back to the dude.
Yeah, so you revive him with a wake stone.
Oh, man. But I don't know whether the quest was in the rest town. I don't know if there's a morgue there.
No, they all get sent to the main one. Everyone. Any NPC. So I really like that system. In all honesty, it's cool.
That life's behind me. Doesn't matter.
Well, now you know. Because I'm telling you right now, you are going to pick up a quest that you forget to do, or an NPC is going to die, but you can revive them and it doesn't break quests. I've seen some people say that certain quests can be broken if you do that, but the one that I did, it worked perfectly. So it was awesome.
Very upsetting.
But yeah, that is pretty much what we've both been playing. I've also just been playing Dragon's Dogma 2. Next up, we've got viewer questions. If you have any viewer questions, let us know in the comments below. We've included a couple more viewer questions this week just to make sure the episode hits as close to 1 hour as possible. Let's see how we go. First up.
Can I pause you there? I'm
you're
sorry,
gonna get pee,
Jonny.
aren't you?
I have to go bathroom.
Oh my god, he lasted pretty good. He lasted over 40 minutes. I don't know why he pees so much. You see, because he drinks those big freaking jugs of water in the episodes. No wonder why he's peeing. Usually when we record, the reason why, I'm just joking, is that he trains. So when he comes to record the episodes, he has to drink a lot of water to keep his hydration up. That's why he's peeing so much. For any of you wondering, that is the reason why it occurs. It's just funny every time. And then I got to speak here for a minute or so while he goes and pees. But I'm genuinely curious, by the way, let us know in the comments below how you want us to approach UFC 300. It's going to be a very long episode, and we might have to either dedicate the entire episode to just predictions, or we split it up as I mentioned. So next week we do half of the card, and the week after that we do the other half of the card. And fingers crossed, like no fights change and everything stays the same. There's every chance of that. But let us know what you think in the comments below. And once he sits down, we will continue with the questions. All right, so Rob, we've got the first question from @Hyper saying, question for Rob. If GSP, Georges St-Pierre, never vacated his middleweight title and defended against you, what would be your game plan to beat him? We missed out on such an incredible fight. What do you reckon, Rob?
Yeah, I think it would have been just to make it into a striking match. Obviously, with the respect for his wrestling, because he mixes it in really well. But I think trying to keep him at the end of the jab,
right?
Straight line kicks, head kicks, much how I fight every time. I think, I think I would have been able to beat him on the hands.
Okay. All right. Next question we got is from @Justin Morbin. So, Rob, I saw you talk about this. I don't know if it was in your chat with Ariel, but is that a mark on Rob's face from his last fight? It's crazy to see that Cheeto's face looks almost normal, and people would arguably say he took way more punishment. Interesting things about the human body. What about that scar, Rob?
Yeah, it is from last fight. So, I had it was a tiny slit there, and I got it glued. And I think when you glue things, they don't heal as fast or heal as well because, like, you can see it. It's still, like, it's very pink still. I don't know.
So can you, like, go back and stitch it up? Is that a possibility?
Nah, because it's fully closed. It's just pink.
Interesting.
Like, it doesn't hurt or anything. Yeah.
All right. Next question is from Lawrence Prasad 2059. I think you guys may have talked me into playing Dragon's Dogma 2. Can anyone tell me, does the story make any sense without playing number 1?
Yeah, I didn't play number 1 really. I watched like a lore video of number 1. Doesn't make sense anyway. And even in number 2, the story's kind of all over the shop, to be honest. Like,
it is a little bit, yeah. What I saw, because I looked into it, honestly, a lot of people have been describing Dragon's Dogma 2 as not really a sequel. It's more of its own thing. That's why when you first open the game, and I was confused, it just says in the title screen, Dragon's Dogma. I think they're trying to separate it in that sense. You don't have to play the first one. But for marketing purposes, I think that's the only reason why they called it Dragon's Dogma 2. So no, you don't need to play it. Neither of us have played it. You'll be just fine.
I'll give you the quick layman's rundown if you want, mate. Here we go. So more or less, there's a dragon who finds a dude that's worthy, steals his heart. That dude becomes arisen. His whole goal is just to kill the dragon, and that's it. And then that rinse and repeats. When he kills the dragons, other things happens. But then eventually a new dragon is born, finds a dude that's worthy, steals his heart, rinse and repeat. Like, that's more or less it.
That's pretty much it.
That's it. All you can do, what I do, is just abandon everything and just go adventuring.
Okay, so I want to mention it here because you've brought it up, right? I've seen a lot of people criticize the game, and in a lot of those situations, they have absolutely beelined and rushed the main story. And they're like, I've already finished it in 40 hours or 50 hours or whatever. In 30 hours, I've just finished the quest for Captain Brandt because I'm taking my time walking through, exploring caves, doing as many side quests as I can. Don't rush this game. You will ruin it for yourself. Honest to God.
Yeah. There's no need. And, like, you don't need to look up fast leveling guides or how to make money guides. Like, literally, when you have to walk to a quest, you'll get into 4,000 fights and level yourself up so fast. And then you just sell everything you find there. Like, here's a tip. Sell your crafting mats. Just sell them, okay? Because it's not hard to upgrade. Like, when you find an upgrade, it's like get 6 goblin things. You just walk outside and go punch on some goblins. So, like, it's not hard to find mats. So just sell them. I ended up having, like, in my last playthrough, a ton of materials in my storage that I just don't use.
So you're selling all of them and you're getting as much gold as possible. I will say I haven't used any of the guides, but I was curious and I saw one of these guides. And pretty much saying, if you're in this one town and you get some apples or whatever, and then you go fast travel to another town, and by the time you do, it's ripened, and you sell them at a huge profit. Apparently, that's one of the cheesy ways of getting a lot of money in the game. And another way is counterintuitive. So with your pawn, when you set main quests, or when you set quests for your pawn, you can set a gold amount that people receive, like 10,000 gold, for instance. I saw someone arguing that if we all did that, everyone can benefit from doing a pawn quest and getting 10,000 gold. And the key is just to not sleep at an inn. You sleep at your campsite or whatever, and it doesn't return your pawn to you and end that quest. So if everyone does that, apparently we all make a bunch of money. I don't know.
Well, the game kind of alludes you to trading. I don't think it's cheesy because you could do it in Dragon's Dogma 1.
Right.
But it alludes you to trading in some of the gems. So like the Tiger Stone or the Agate or the Onyx, it says it in the description that this is very rarely seen in Batal. So it sells higher there, and it sells a lot higher there. So
that's a really good point. I'm glad I haven't sold anything.
Yeah, trading like is a viable means of making money. But if you want to sit there doing that boring stuff, you can. But honestly, you don't need it. You just traveling. You end up punching on with everything, man. everything.
Yeah.
Like
just
it's
honestly,
almost a problem.
Yeah.
It's almost a problem how much punching on there is because like you bash a group of enemies, within 50 meters, there's a new group of enemies.
Dude, literally every 30 seconds to a minute, you will find a new group. And that's why I'm like just running through some areas and telling my pawns to come along because I'm like, all right, I'm done fighting enemies now.
Follow me.
I just want to get to the quest. Next question we have is for you, Rob, at Doofstar117. This one is for Rob the Giant Slayer. Would he ever consider a cameo in a movie or show, such as GSP in Captain America? And obviously we just saw Conor in Roadhouse, but he wasn't a cameo. He was one of the main roles. Rob, would you ever do it?
Yeah, sure. I don't think acting's for me right now, personally, because I don't think I can do much more than this podcast and fighting. Like it takes so much. Like it takes so much headspace. That's why I don't think it's a good idea to get stuck into that stuff while you're trying to compete at this level.
Fair.
But yeah, I think one day for sure, it makes money somehow.
Yeah, fair. The question also asks, also for Jonny or maybe both, but do you have any tattoos or new ink planned? Cheers on your 1 year already, lads. I do have a tattoo on my left arm of a dog of mine that passed away a few years ago. I want to get a full sleeve done, but I'm trying to save money right now, and it's just not a wise purchase at the moment. They're very expensive.
Tattoos are expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive, man.
Next question is from Siddharth94. Question for both. Have you guys picked up Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, or do you plan to? Also, did you guys ever finish Final Fantasy 16? And the rest of the question cuts off. I do apologize for that. But Rob, Rebirth, are you planning on playing it?
I never liked Final Fantasy VII. I'm part of a big group. No, I'm the outsider there because everyone loves Final Fantasy VII. I never liked it. Okay,
fair enough.
And so I never even finished it. I think I got to a point where, like, I had to find Sephiroth somewhere because he just smashed someplace, and then I had to go find him.
Yep.
But I stopped there, came back a year or two later, and didn't know what was going on and couldn't work out where to go. So I always liked Final Fantasy VIII much more.
Fair enough.
That's my favorite Final Fantasy to date.
Yeah, I did play the remake to be prepared for Rebirth, but the only reason why I haven't progressed further with Rebirth, and I started it, is because there are just so many other games. And I think I did myself a disservice because you know how you're like, oh, I'm going to play a game's prequel or whatever to prepare for the new game dropping. I think that's ultimately a bad thing to do because it just is overexposing you to that style of game and gameplay. So when I went to play Rebirth, it didn't give me that new excited feeling, and that's on me. You know what I mean? Because I just played a very similar game, even though there are improvements. I just literally played the remake, so I think I'm going to give it a few months, and then eventually I'll go and play Rebirth again. And then Final Fantasy 16, I haven't finished. I will finish it. I'm very close, but I haven't finished it yet. Next question.
I have not finished it either.
Yeah.
And I have no intention of finishing it.
Fair. Next question is from @Croak8272. Loving the podcast, guys. Question for Rob. Is there anyone that you fought that you would want to go train with? For example, maybe Wonder Boy. Your final thoughts on it? No pun. That's the other question. That's where I got cut off. Who would you go train with, Rob, that you fought already?
Maybe Darren Till.
Oh, yeah. I remember. Yeah, so was this the fight literally afterwards you guys were talking and you said to him in the ring that you were one of the hardest fights that I've ever had? Like you said that it was really difficult.
Yeah, it was stressful. It was a very technical fight. But I think, it was.
So Darren Till would be someone that you'd go train with?
I think so.
Fair. And the last question that we have is from @Anthony on TV 1061. How do you know, Rob? I don't know if this was ever answered, but I haven't saw it. So we have answered this question, but people do keep asking it, so I'll answer it now. Rob and I met when I was working at Bethesda. Rob was an ambassador of Bethesda at the time. And then we just started chatting and, we've been friends since. The reason why I wanted to answer this as well is because, Rob, do you remember like one of the first official collabs that we did? It was at a PAX. And you took over the Bethesda Australia New Zealand Twitter account. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the Twitter account.
I still have a photo of that, of like me with my head in my hands, stressed because I was the community manager, and you're just laughing, responding to people's tweets on the Twitter account. I think that was one of the coolest things that we did. It was hilarious.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. It's always fun jumping on other people's Twitter's accounts.
But that was it. That was episode 36 of the MMArcade podcast. Not quite a full hour, Rob, so you were right. This was a slightly shorter episode than normal.
Yep, shorter. Nailed it.
Yeah. But let us know what you think in the comments below. Again, we'd really like to know what you think about how we approach UFC 300. Either way, it's going to be a big episode. But Rob, it's been good chatting with you as always, man.
It's been great. Thank you very much, guys, for all your love and support. Please do sub if you like what you're listening to. If you like what your ears are hearing.
100%.
Otherwise, see you next week.
Take care.